All right, we're live.
All righty, let's do this. So the whole premise of this message here is how to have a $300,000 campaign. So what we're going to do is we're going to review summer numbers, take a look at some areas of improvement there, dive into some learning on how do we get, you know, our show, our percentage scheduled, all of those numbers. How do we even increase them a couple percent? A couple percent over an entire campaign can have a world of a difference. And then do some comparisons and see just what we can add. So let's peruse through our Vector Live here. Kicking off with our ad stats over the summertime, so we know where some of these numbers are first coming from, and Trey will have all of this kind of mapped out for you guys as well. So our ad stats tell us what our main sources are, and then we're going to check out what type of CPO was produced from those sources, so we can see where should most of our attention be focused. So over the summertime, you guys spoke to 430 PRs, 430 touches between you guys making phone calls, conveyor, texting out, scheduled a total of 163. You accepted 47 of those scheduled that showed you had we had a just about a 48% show. This is really good. Any office for their PRs that can have about a 50% show is really strong. That's what I always strive for. If we're ever under that, that means there's some discrepancy between what we're telling somebody and what they're actually experiencing. This is good. Qualified percentage is a little bit low. There could be different reasons for that. Quite a few 17-year-olds probably in the Google Forms and whatnot. Kept percentage 64%. I think that kind of makes sense for your territory. One thing you could do is we talk about the funnel. So the funnel for recruiting, our goal is to make the top of the funnel as big as humanly possible. And as the funnel goes down, which is how many people have we talked to, how many people did we schedule, out of the people that we scheduled, how many people showed, out of those people that showed, how many did we keep, out of those people that we kept, how many did we accept for the job, out of the people we accepted for the job is good for training, how many actually launched. So the larger we can make the top of the funnel, the larger the rest of the funnel will be, all the way down to getting people out the bottom and out the door selling knives. So one of the things, and there could be different reasons for this, but out of the PRs that showed up, 64% of them were qualified. And typically my basis for not qualifying somebody falls under, are they under the age of 17? Do they not speak English? Everybody else, for the most part, should be qualified. Keep that funnel open. Kept, as you can see, we kind of cut all of this in half. Now, kept could be for different reasons. If you have high standards for the people that you want in your office, that's a decision that you have with the staff. But it's something that is easy to fix that can increase that funnel there. Accepted 47, 19 of them showed, launched 16 out the door. They have a 1,500 PPR. $25,000 in sales came from PRs over the summertime. Your guys' web, 1,000 from the web. That's actually really good. I like a 1K PPR from your web, and we are going to get a lot of web apps this fall. Craigslist, Indeed, Monster. People are looking for jobs again. We're about to see this blow up, and if you can keep a 1K PPR with web apps, that's actually really strong. Good conversion with web. You might have some of the best conversion in the division with your web. We'll take a look, but I like that. Mailers, we don't worry about those in the fall. Craigslist, almost a 1K PPR from Craigslist. All of us have work to do on that. I have a lot of work to do on that. But the main one that we have control over is this PR. Now, here, that shows us where recruits come from. You guys have a 1K PPR just for the summertime, which you and I are confident can be raised to 2K, which if we look at our fall campaign with CPO, that hasn't updated. It's like a 65 PPR. Your PPR for the fall is actually, I don't know why this hasn't updated, because your PPR for the fall is really good. It'll come though, or they'll update it eventually. So let's take a look at the other important log, which is our receptionist stats. And this is the main area that you guys have control over. This is your outbound texts, your outbound calls, it's your social media work, your LinkedIn work. And for the summertime, you had some leaders, you had some standouts. Maddie Pryor, killing it. I like this number right here. This 60% schedule means when you're getting people on the phone, if you get a hold of them, you're getting them booked for the most part. That's strong. I like to see right around a 60, 65%. That's good from Maddie. And then 43, good as well. We love to see that again up towards 50. Now, Trey, you brought it up, but you and Maddie obviously leading the way for the entire summer. That's good. All you got to do now is duplicate your efforts with the rest of the staff, because think about 2 people doing this at a high level was able to produce what you guys did this summer. 4, 5, 6 people doing this together all at the same time on a blitz, booking PRs, a 50% show as an office. That's next level. And then I love looking at this. This was good. This is really good, Trey. A 68% show you had, same day schedule. Same day show percentage is always going to be higher. So as much as possible, and you guys have a really good system set up with your interviews, where you have later interviews. Your later interviews, your blitzes during the day allows you to book more people same day, and that is your best opportunity at show. So for the fall campaign so far, which again just consists of these past 2 weeks, just PRs. So Trey said that you guys have been doing no shows and callbacks and things like that. That's really good. Always focus on that. That's not going to reflect in these. This is purely PRs. And Jaden Trang leading the way there. Now, all of us have some work to do with the PR game. Here's something Trey wanted me to show you guys, because again, the whole premise of this is, how do we prepare to go after a 300K campaign? And it's going to boil down to this number. How many people are we reaching? How many people do we schedule? And what is our ratio there? It's typically for every 10 PRs that we schedule for an interview, one of those PRs is going to show. So Trey and I did the math the other day, and you guys are going to produce about 20,000 of recurring business. That means business from the summer that came with you into the fall, and then people writing up orders over Christmas break and things like that. So if 20,000 is going to be produced by the old team, that leaves 280,000 that has to be newly produced. With a 2K PPR, Trey, is that what we went over? Or did we go over a 2,500 PPR?
I think we did it was either 2K or I think actually it was 2,500 PPR.
2,500 PPR. Because so that's still, and I remember this, we had talked before this, we were thinking around 78 recruits. It's more in the ballpark of 100. That would be 112. 112 divided by 14 recruiting weeks, that's 8 launched a week.
Perfect, let's do that.
Okay, I like that as well. So if you need to launch 112 with a 2,500 PPR, that means 8 PRs launched on a weekly basis. How does that break down? Where do those numbers come from? Well, how do we get 8 out the door? For every 10 PRs that we schedule, we launch 1. So the goal is going to have to be around 70 to 80 PRs set on a weekly basis. Now, this is actually going to be fun to look at. Let's check out your guys' actual ratio, because I think it's higher, and that might have affected. Oh, you have a 10. You're right on it. You guys are right. You guys are smack dab on it. Okay. So our numbers are perfect. If we do that, you guys will knock this out. So let's take a look. And Trey and I looked at this from some of the numbers last year because the North Denver office had a solid fall campaign, and something that is definitely duplicatable. The new quantum Columbus Report, new biz. So last fall, we sold $260,000 in new biz. You guys have to do 280. So right there. If you look at our launches, we launched 20 in September, 32 in October, and things really started to pick up steam. 36, 39, and got to 127 launch. And that's right where you guys need to be. So if you guys can use these numbers as, I guess, inspiration metrics, minimums, this puts you right on pace. And what's nice about this is like our 20 launched didn't produce a whole lot in September. 35K is not a ton from only 20. 32K produced less, 29K. So what happens there is you're building culture. You're finding your core people. You're finding your long-term reps. There's going to be naturally some turnover as you figure out, okay, where are our standards and who are the people that can meet those standards. Once you have that core group, you're able to really build around those people. And that's when you see some major pops start to happen. So we only launched 4 more people in November compared to October, but we sold 70 grand more. Had almost $100,000 November and almost another 100K December to end the year strong. So even where you guys are right now, you have great culture, you have great staff, great leaders. You're building that momentum into that culture too. So let's take a look at how these numbers were produced, and this will give a good idea of what the schedules need to look like, what the focus needs to look like. So North Denver. Receptionist stats last fall. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Cool. So this was everybody on staff that was calling PRs last year. Let's take a look at some of our leaders. Tristan, you guys know homie real well. Tristan spoke with 177. So that's outbound. That's just calling, dialing. It's when those blitzes hit, and Tristan is one of the best at it. He sits down. It's no bullshit. It's how many phone calls can he make in the given 2 to 3 hour blitz period, whatever the length. So he spoke with 177 people, scheduled 167. And that's a really qualified. That means pretty much everybody he's talking to, he's giving them a chance. And then his schedule percentage, 84%. That's massive. So 140 scheduled, 50% of them show. He had 73 people show himself. All right, let's go. Trey. Nice job, Trey. Trey wasn't in our office. But still booking people for us. Thanks, man. Mady Warren, 174. So same thing, right in the 170 range. Now her numbers were a little bit lower, 36% to Tristan's 84%. So let's talk about that really quick. How does that happen? That's massive. They spoke with the same number of people, qualified the same number of people, but she had a fraction of the amount show. What I think about with calling PRs, I think about tone. I think about being the boss, essentially. Like what I tell all of my top PR callers over the years is that even though you are not the CEO of the business, treat yourself like the CEO. what I told Tristan, this was years ago, to do whenever he got somebody on the phone, that person needed to feel like they were the only person being called that day by Tristan. I know what happened with Mady is she got very comfortable with the script. It got kind of monotonous for her and she treated everybody the same versus Tristan, when he got somebody on the phone, he really had intention to make them feel like, okay, I'm the CEO of this business. You were recommended by somebody that is top in my organization, so that's why I'm reaching out. We've got openings. And that's just a different mindset. They read the same exact script. They had the same exact words, but it's interesting how much the music can influence that. So keep that in mind. She still had a really good show percentage, a 57% show, 53% show for Tristan. It's just her schedule was so low. So I'm guessing when she was on the phone, it was too quick. It was not personable. It probably to people sounded more like a telemarketing call than an actual business owner reaching out with a job position available. So that's a really good example there. But still, Mady was a workhorse, and that's what it takes. If you guys want to hit that 300K goal, 280K produced by you guys, it's just a bunch of workhorses going at it, because it matters. When I think about PR calls, you guys, it's, you know, one of the things that we've also gone over year after year, and this is a conversation we have pretty much every time before we hop into a blitz, is why are we blitzing? Blitzing's not fun. Sitting down and making 100 phone calls in an hour and a half is not the most exciting, most fun thing. Now, it does get exciting when you're competing with each other, you're booking people up, you're getting people scheduled for interviews, but the whole point of us making these PR calls is this is the fastest way to influence lives. And that's in the end why we're all doing this thing. We're all here to make people better. They don't know how good this opportunity is yet. We need to just get them in our doors so they can experience that. But you know, every call we make is this could be a life-changing phone call. If I hadn't have been called by, her name was Lindsay, back in 2012 and scheduled for an interview because Corey recommended me for the job, I don't know what my life would be like. And so it's like every single time I'm finding the next Trey, I'm finding the next Curtis Jacques, the next True Frank, like that's somebody on the phone that needs us. And that's a really exciting mentality to have when you're sitting down and making that many phone calls. Leah Wilms spoke with 263 people, qualified almost every single one of them, had a lower show than Tristan, but 117 scheduled. I like that 50%. 50% schedule is really good. This is an anomaly, but that's really solid. 46%, and then a 50% show. That 50% show plus is so important. Corey Schott, 150, 97% scheduled almost every single person he got on the phone, and half of them show. So that led to our numbers, and this is the key right here. It's like, okay, back to the funnel analogy. How many people can we get into the top of the funnel? Meaning, how many people can we just talk to? And that's where the madness on the phone comes into play. It's all about dials. How many freaking dials can we be making during these blitzes? And keep in mind too, like they were calling some people that had been called, like, I don't know, we had some lists that we had called through like 10 times, but it didn't matter. There were still people on that list that hadn't picked up and hadn't answered. We still freaking called those people. So we make that top of the funnel really big. That way, as it goes down, it could be even larger. And launching, let's take a look at, oh, well, we saw that briefly. Let me just show that again. Ad stats, campaign 3, all main with CPO. So like we just saw, 1,000 people reached, half of the people we scheduled showed, a large show percentage. We had 111 PR show up to training. 93 of them launched out the door with a 3K PPR. When you start, and that's why Trey and I were projecting your guys' PPR to increase to 2,500 to 3,000, because as you are building a PR program, this PR machine, you just continue to get fire people in the door. Hard workers, savage, and that's when you're going to see that PPR start to increase there. Cool, and then produce that 300K that you guys are wanting, plus all the other sources, which What's funny is, we didn't even have a campus source last year because nobody was on campus. So you guys have an epic campus opportunity this year as well. Trey, anything that you feel like I've missed that we need to go over?
No, but what I really did like, that was all perfect. The numbers, they're there. You guys did it, so definitely we can do it. You had your top people. You had Tristan, Mady, Corey, Daniel, Leah. You had those people that were booking 130, 140, 170 people and outreaching to that many as well. What I really liked and what kind of I want to talk about just in our last couple minutes here is what is the mentality that you guys have going into every single blitz, and why is booking PR so important?
Totally. So what's nice about the Blitz and why these guys were so into it is we had a battle cry. The battle cry for us last year was twofold. It consisted of two specific things. Number one was Mission Million. We had been screaming Mission Million for years. We had this massive goals in office that we wanted to go after. You guys have your 300K, which gives you a really, really good opportunity to win a Silver Cup. And there has not been a new district manager, a new DM to win a Silver Cup in the Rocky Mountain Division since Drew back in 2008. It's been over a decade. So that's an amazing thing to accomplish and an amazing battle cry behind knowing, okay, I've made so many PR calls. Here's why I'm going to do it again, though, because the team, they're relying on me. They rely on everybody. As a squad, as a unit, everybody's numbers matter. So that was a part of it. And then the second thing was back to the core reason as to why we're working here. Why are we putting in all this effort? Well, there's a lot of people out there that need this, that don't know we exist, that are looking for jobs. And what I would hate and what pains me is if somebody is so high quality and they have to settle and find a job at Arby's or freaking Subway. That would just pain the hell out of me because they didn't know we existed. No. We're going to call as many people as possible to let as many people as possible know we exist so nobody has to experience that. And I remember there's this, and I tell this story to our recruiters every year, but there was this girl named Jenna Brown that got started with me. And JB, there was this kid's list, Rowan Alawalia. He recommended 200 people to the job, worked for one day and then quit. I didn't see him after that, but he recommended over 200 people to the job. Really positive kid, had a good experience. Job just wasn't for him. That's fine. We're calling through this kid's list. We called through this kid's list for about half a year. There's always a number next to people's names on how many times that they had been called, and everybody on his list had been called over 15 times. So that means that they hadn't picked up. That's fine. If they haven't picked up, we're still going to give them a shout. And we're doing one last round through it because at some point it's okay, let's move on. And one of my sales managers, Shab, is calling through this list. She gets a hold of a girl named Jenna Brown. And Jenna finally answers, 16th try. And Shab goes to the script, gets her scheduled. She's like, I don't even know who Rowan Alawalia is, but I'm interested in work. This is when we had to do things in person still. And Jenna had to drive 45 minutes to the office. She lived up in Meade, Colorado. And JB came in, sold $10,000 her first 10 days. She sold $60,000 in her first 7 months on the job. She had 5 or 6 friends get started and they combined sold over $100,000. It was and so the analogy there is there are always diamonds in the hay. There's always the needle in the haystack. That person that needs us, then we just got to find them. And it's just quantity. It's just dials. So that's our focus. We got a massive goal. It's going to take every single one of us. If we didn't have the whole squad in, calling, just relentless, we wouldn't have gotten it done. We hit 1 million by I think it was $11,000. Barely hit it. So if Tristan didn't make those extra calls, if Mady didn't make those extra calls, and we would have missed it. And so every call counts. And then they all knew their numbers. So for us to hit this, so let's say, you know, we can break this down really well. If you guys need to schedule 70 PRs on a weekly basis, and well, I'll let you guys dive into that on what the exact metrics are going to be. But they also knew, okay, at a minimum, they had to schedule their 10. There was a point where it was like 10. There was a point where it was like 5. But they all knew their minimum on how they needed to schedule, how many they needed to schedule, whether it took during that blitz or whether it took some extra work. They were just getting that done.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mazurek. I really do appreciate it. I know my entire squad will enjoy it as well.
Kick ass. You're welcome.